Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, and our statement described the four bills as transformative steps that will transform Nigeria's fiscal and revenue framework. Recall the four bills: Nigerian Tax Bill, Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, Nigerian Revenue Service Bill, and Joint Revenue Board Bill were passed by the National Assembly after extensive consultations with various interest groups and stakeholders. Ononuga explained that when the new tax laws became operational, they will be significantly transform Nigerian administration into the country, leading to increased revenue generation, improved business environment, and a boost in domestic and diplomatic matters. A court sitting in South Africa has prevented Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu from being buried in Johannesburg, but just before the ceremony was due to be held. Following weeks of feuding between the family and the Zambian government, Lungu, who was Zambia's head of state from 2015 to 2021, died in South Africa on June 5th while receiving medical treatment. Lungu and his successors, currently President Hakainde Hichilema, were long-standing political rivals, and Lungu's family said they did not want Hichilema to be present at his funeral. Hichilema's government, however, wants Lungu's body brought back to Zambia for a state funeral and approached Pretoria High Court to try to block his burial. Meanwhile, Zambia Attorney General Mulilo Kabesha said negotiations with Lungu's family will continue before the next court hearing. Now moving to East Africa, where the head of the Amnesty Kenya, Irungu Hokunstein, has said that at least 16 people died during nationwide anti-government protests in Kenya yesterday, a year after deadly demonstration culminated in the storming of parliament. Augustine added that some protesters were involved in clashes with the police, resulting in 16 confirmed fatalities, adding that the figures were verified by the global rights watchdog and the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights. World Affairs analyst Akesha Wondra said the protests, which started peacefully, turned into violent, leading 16 people dead and about 400 people injured, noting that the death toll could still rise.
Yesterday to mark 1 year since the anti-tax demonstrations that saw the killing of about 60 people, and they began as peaceful marches but turned chaotic, and this morning a lot of people have woken up to the kind of losses from human life to massive injuries. Amnesty International and other bodies are saying at least 400 people were injured, 83 of them being very critically injured. The death toll as of 9 p.m. yesterday was 16 and is expected to rise.
The watchdog noted every police development and allegation of excessive use of force, including rubber bullets, live ammunition, and water cannons, resulting in numerous injuries. In our fresh push for economic reform, Ethiopia Central Bank has said international bank and investors can apply for a license to operate in Ethiopia immediately, capping the government's drive to attract more overseas investment in the most domestic banking sector. The East African nation will struck a 4-year, $3.4 billion program agreement with the International Monetary Fund last July, is undergoing a major reform push, which includes flotation of its BRR currency and before to complete an $8.4 billion debt restructuring with its official creditors. Earlier, Parliament approved a long-awaited law to allow foreign banks to establish subsidiaries, open branches or representatives' offices, and buy shares in local banks. Ethiopia opened up its telecom sector to foreign investors in 2022 after a consortium led by Kenya's Saraficom launched the first foreign network. In listening to Global Box from Adamimogo 107.7 FM, transmitting live from Olojido's Palace, Ido Ekiti. After the break, Trump confirms Iran nuclear talks next week after obligating nuclear sites. Details of this and more when we return. Please do stay with us.
The Nigerian army has taken custody of two of the
Get ready to dive into the latest headlines,
Nigerians deported from the United
in-depth stories, and breaking updates that matter to you.
To face the challenge to be able to fulfill the dream and the aspiration.
From local events to global affairs, we've got you covered. Stay with us as we unravel the stories shaping our world today. This is Adamimogo 107.7 FM.
Head of the Sea, High John Pasilefe, has said U.S. tracks severely damage Iran nuclear facilities and set them back years. Divergent form of leaks intelligence report that guard President Donald Trump by downplaying the raid's impact. The U.S. spy agency director Pasilefe said the site had been destroyed through the stop short of declaring that Iran's nuclear program had been eliminated outright. This comes a day after a leaked preliminary assignment from a Pentagon intelligence agency just suggested that core components of Iran's nuclear program remain intact after the U.S. bombings. Speaking at the United States President Donald Trump stated that they will likely seek a commitment from Iran to abandon its nuclear ambition during talks scheduled for next week, but Iran has not confirmed any such discussion.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The only thing we'd be asking for is what we were asking for before about we want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. I said Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come. And so I don't feel very strongly about it. If we got a document, wouldn't be bad.
Trump added that U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and other military officials will hold an interesting and irrefutable news conference today at the Pentagon in order to fight for the dignity of great American pilots. NATO leaders have agreed to ramp up defense spending to 5% of their country's economic output by 2035, following months of pressure from Donald Trump. The U.S. president described the decision taken at the summit in the Hood as a big win for Europe and Western civilization. The Hood summit has been described by several leaders as historic and not to achieve mark. Roto said the decision made will include continued support for Ukraine while pushing for peace.
Long-term threat on Ukraine having this irreversible path into NATO, and all these other paragraphs from previous meetings are still valid. Today, basically, is putting an emphasis on three elements. One is spending, second, industrial production, third, the practical support for Ukraine to keep them in the fight and to get them as strong as possible after a peace deal.
Meanwhile, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has stated that NATO has no business in Ukraine as it is not a member of the alliance, and that his talk is to ensure that it remains that way.
If we would integrate Ukraine into the European Union, we would integrate the war. And we would not like to be together in one community with a country who is in war and represent an imminent danger on us. Because if a member of the European Union is in war, it means that European Union is war, and we don't like it.
In a joint statement, members said they were united against profound security challenges, singling out the long-term threat posed by Russia and terrorism. In a sharp diplomatic move, current President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for the prosecution of Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom he accused of being a war criminal for launching Russia's attack on Ukraine. Zelensky issued the call yesterday after he signed an accord with the Council of Europe to set up a special tribunal to prosecute Russian officials, including Putin, for the invasion of Ukraine.
Still a long road ahead, and really we know it. Today's agreement to create the tribunal is just the beginning, and now we must take real steps to make it work. And it will take strong political and legal cooperation to make sure every Russian war criminal faces justice, including Putin. And this is the path we must walk all the way to real charges and real verdicts. And I urge you to stay involved and keep leading, just as you've done so far.
The European Council said the proposed tribunal could potentially be used to prosecute North Korea and Belarusian individuals who assisted Russia in the invasion. Recall Putin is already facing an arrest warrant rather, issued by the International Criminal Court (ICC) in the urge for the alleged war crime of illegally transporting children out of Ukraine. Turning to Southeast Asia, where the Thai government is moving to tighten rules around the sale of cannabis, just 3 years after the kingdom decriminalized recreational use of the popular substance. Thailand Ministry of Public Health ordered that cannabis use be restricted to medical use only, throwing the estimated $1 billion industry into a state of uncertainty. Government spokesperson Jirayu Onguso said cannabis has created serious social problems for young people, and the industry, which has boomed into recent years, needed to be scaled back. Thailand became the first country in Asia to fully criminalize cannabis in 2022, and a move that has been widely popular with tourists but less so among more conservative Thais. In our latest development, President of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, says the fugitive leader of Ecuador, Los Caneros gang, Jose Dadolfo Masquil, has been recaptured after nearly 18 months in the run. Macais, also known as Fito, escaped from Coahuila prison in January 2024, where he was serving a 34-year sentence for drug trafficking and murder. Nomabi and post on X said following his capture, Macias will now be extradited to the US, where he was indicted by federal court for charges related to drug trafficking and firearms smuggling. Ecuador president had previously ordered $1 million for assistance in Macai's capture and dispatched thousands of police officers and members of the armed forces to find him. The Ethiopian president said has also designated 22 gangs, including Los Charenos, and also as terrorist group. On business fronts, United States federal judge has ruled in favor of Meta platform in a case brought by a group of authors who had alleged that the company's use of their books without permission to train its artificial intelligence system constituted a breach of copyright. The judge citing in San Francisco Vance Haber ruled that the authors had not reserved enough evidence that Meta's AI would dilute the market for their work or show that the company conduct was illegal under U.S. copyright law. A spokesperson for the author's law firm Boyce Scalafena said that it disagreed with the judge's decision to rule for Meta despite the undisputed record of the company's historically unprecedented pirating of copyright works. A Meta spokesperson said that the company appreciated the decision and called fair use of vital legal framework for building transformative AI technology. Afternoon, Manny Pacquiao has said that his break from boxing has reignited his passion for the sport as they prepare for next month World Weightlifting title comeback against Mario Barrios. The 46-year-old Filipino boxing icon faces World Boxing Council WBC champion Barrios in Las Vegas on July 19, 4 years after his last fight ended in defeat. Pacquiao reunited with longtime veteran trainer Ferdinand Roach for next month's title till as they walk out at the Hall of Famous Weed Carve Gym in Hollywood. The Filipino boxer, who won 12 world titles in 8 different weight classes during a glittering professional career that began in 1995, refused to be a drawn on whether his comeback next month will be one and done or just the first step of a full-fledged return to the sport. To end Global Box at noon, a recap of our top stories. We told you that President Bola Tinubu is expected today to sign into law 4 tax bill recently passed by the National Assembly. You also heard that a court sitting in South Africa has prevented Zambia former President Edgar Lungu from being buried in Johannesburg just before the ceremony was due to be held, following weeks of fighting between his family and the Zambia government. And lastly, we told you that the head of the CIA, John Pasilev, has said U.S. strikes severely damage Iran's nuclear facilities and sent them back years. Diverging from a leaked intelligence reports that angered President Donald Trump by downplaying the raid's impact. And that concludes Global Box from Adamimogo 107.7 FM Olojudo's Palace, Ido Ekiti. On behalf of the production crew led by Kingsley Iniubusa, I am Oluwaseun Abiodun. Palace, Ido Ekiti. On behalf of the production crew led by Kingsley Iniubusa, I am